Hey there guys, welcome back. We are covering the Necrobloom today, a Abzan commander which has beat me up quite a few times. So the Necrobloom itself is a 3-color Abzan, black, green, white, 1 generic. You're a 2/7 legendary plant with Landfall. Whenever a land enters battlefield under your control, create a 0/1 plant token, and if you have 7 or more lands with different names, you create a 2/2 zombie instead. In addition, this is the part that breaks commander, lands in your graveyard have Dredge too, so you may return the land from your graveyard to your hand and mill 2 cards instead of drawing a card. The Dredging 2 can replace any draw effect in your deck, your main draw or any supplement draw you do. So of course, we're a Landfall deck, we will want to go nice and wide with our tokens we generate. They're going to be mainly zombies because 7 lands in commander is pretty quick, so it's going to be a lot of 2/2 zombies you'll start generating. A lot of ramp, a lot of big things, go wide, a simple fair game. So before I go too deep, the Necrobloom can be built really budget and still be really strong, or can be built really expensive and be hyper competitive and sweaty. It's like a strong commander, it can go a lot of different ways. I've built this one in the sense of it's a fair good old game of Magic, got a couple little combos going on, nothing too bank breaking, but if you wanted to upgrade it, put things like Mondrak, Parallel Lives, Doubling Season, Crate Hoof, Crucible Worlds, Field of the Dead, these kind of cards will really ramp this commander up to another level, but they're also like $50-ish cards on their own. So the lieutenants of the deck, we've got both variants of the Gitrog monster, not the other one. Really strong, they can kind of carry the deck on their own when they're out. The OG Gitrog, you have to sacrifice a land on your upkeep, but whenever 1 or more lands go into your graveyard from anywhere, you get to draw cards. So if you self-mill them through your Dredging 3 commander, you get to draw extra cards, play extra lands as well. He himself is a 6/6 beat stick with Death Touch, he can do a lot of work. The new Thalia and Gitrog combined, this is Abzan now. 4/4 first strike Death Touch, really strong, will win most combats. Play additional lands, your opponent's stuff enters tapped, and whenever it taps, you can sack a creature or land, draw a card. So kind of similar effect. Elesh Norn's like our budget Cradle from this deck, where we're trying to anthem up the board to make all the tokens, since we've gone wide, do a bit more damage. A lot of time, Elesh Norn just keeps things dead on our opponent's side. So extra lands matter because we want all the landfalls we can get. So Wayward Swordtooth, cheap, few dollar, extra land turn creature, which can come online through Ascend and be a good beater. Azusa, play 2 extra lands a turn, you don't want to question it. I do like Druid class in the case of the Lockhart House because they're enchantments, hard to remove, and they do a few extra things. Druid class, I'm only going to go to level 2. Level 1, gain life when you play a land. Level 2 lets you play additional lands. I'm going to leave it there. Case of the Locked House, straight up 4 mana, play additional lands every turn. You solve it when you have 7 or more lands, and when it is solved, you may look at the top card of your library, and you may play lands and creatures and enchantments from the top of your library, so it's card advantage. To play your lands from your graveyard, Ancient Green Warden is a big beater, lets you just simply play lands from a graveyard, and it doubles any ETB effect from those lands occurring. Landfall. Conduit of the Worlds, again, it's just here to play lands from the graveyard. Zuran Orb is here because it lets us put lands from our battlefield back into the graveyard, thus back to our hand through our commander, giving us more landfall triggers and the life gain, and it's a free mana artifact. So for landfall, the Tyler's Provisioner, landfall, create a treasure or food token. You create those treasure tokens all day long because you can cash them in to recast your commander throughout the length of the game. We run both retreats. The black one, which is Hagra, we're going to use the everyone loses life, we gain 1 life. Retreat of Miria, you can either go create extra tokens to go wide, or you can start choosing the option of going buffing all your creatures, so you can start raising up your army's level and swing in. Philadar Retreat does it better. You create cat tokens, which are 2/2s, or you can put counter on each creature you control and they gain vigilance. It's a permanent anthem effect there. Obnixilis can really start chunking your opponent's life at 3 apiece, and he gets pretty big doing it. Your opponents do have to remove them eventually. Emira Angel just makes a ton of flying bird tokens to dominate the sky. Good old Avenger of Zendikar creates a ton of plant tokens based on the number of lands you have. Plus Landfall triggers for him, puts a counter on each little plant you control. Your commander is a plant, it's a 2/7, it is a good beater. So Avenger of Zendikar helps quite a lot there. Scoot Swarm, the thing gets out of hand and can win games on its own in this commander. It's a little 1/1 for 3. Landfall is you create a 1/1 bug token, but if you have 6 or more lands, you create a copy of the Scoot Swarm itself. So the copy itself has landfall, and then you just exponentially get bigger from there. Yeah, Cathar's Crusade, that's in here. I love this card. I put into any of my creature token spam decks. 1 creature enters, put a counter on everything you control. It gets out of hand very quickly, commander. Playing in the graveyard a little bit, I do like Dread Return because if we mill it through Dredge, we can still activate it from the graveyard and bring a creature back that we also possibly milled or lost. Victimize, just sacking a creature and bring 2 back is pretty good. It's a very plant token, you cop in it. Unburial Rites, again, similar reason to Dread Return. It has its own flashback, so you can play it from the graveyard if you accidentally milled it. If not, it's just a double resurrection. Diabolic Intent is a really good tutor. The fact it's like under $10 now is pretty good. Etching of the Chosen is really fun. When it enters, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1. Sack a creature of that chosen type, and target creature gains indestructible. Probably pick zombies because 7 lands in a commander game is not much at all, and the game's got lots of turns after that. So hopefully you'll be generating a lot of zombies to sacrifice to this, which will make your commander destructible at any time you need. Sylvan Safekeeping, sack a land, target creature gains shroud in a turn, makes your commander really hard to remove. You do not care about sacrificing lands at all in this commander because you can dredge them back to your hand and replay them for more landfall. Lightning Greaves, it's just good protection, that's why it's here. Constant Miss is the most expensive card in this deck. I think it's like $20-$25. I put it here for a bit of fun. It's a 2 mana, creatures deal no damage to end a turn, but its buyback is sacrifice a land, and buyback puts the spell back into your hand. It doesn't exile it. So you can just keep constant missing people, and the game just can be bubbled up and no one takes creature damage. Just saying, politics, protect yourself, whatever you need to do. Similar concept with Worm Harvest, it lets you play it from the graveyard by discarding a land card and paying its cost. It doesn't exile or anything, it just stays in the graveyard, so you can keep doing it. It creates a ton of worm tokens based on the number of lands in your graveyard, so it gets better and better as the game goes on. Kambal, Corpse Knight, and the Mirkwood Bats, similar thing here. We have creatures or tokens entering, everyone's going to lose life and hopefully gain some life out of him. The only cool thing with Kambal is he gets to make a copy of a token someone else produces each turn. So you might get a little treasure, a lot of food tokens, it depends what your opponents are making, but hey, it's free stuff. I really like Braids in this deck, she's fun. Beginning of your end step, you may sack an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or a planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a type. We're going to name land. For everyone who didn't, they're going to lose 2 life, you're going to draw a card. Great card advantage because most people are not going to sack lands, but we are going to sack lands because we can play them again through our commander. White of the Reliquary, this zombie is really cool. The good old knight got converted to a zombie. It gets really big based on creatures in your graveyard, that's cool. But sack another creature and you commander's tokens, search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and it doesn't specify to be basic. We've got cool lands in this deck which we'll cover later on. Shepherd of the Rot, with all the zombies our commander produces, this kind of becomes like a burn spell on a creature, but everyone loses 1 life for each zombie in play. It does check all creatures, so if your opponent's got zombies too, this gets bigger. Splendid Reclamation can be really fun mid-late game. It just dumps all your lands from your graveyard onto the board, get a ton of landfall triggers, do it like the turn before you want to go for a big alpha swing because you might make quite a good board state. Or if you've got Retreat of Miria or Felidar Retreat out there, anthem up your board hard. Titania's in here, of course, because she brings back a land from our graveyard, but whenever a land goes from our battlefield to the graveyard, she creates really big elemental 5/3 tokens. Really good with crack lands, fetch lands, stuff like that. I'm only running the budget crack lands in here, but if you run a lot of variants like that, you'll have a lot of tokens from her. The good thing with this commander, because Dredge, you can be really consistent, you can get lands back from your graveyard back to your hand. It's consistent elemental production, and normally I don't care about thinning my deck in a commander deck, because it's like 1 card at a time through land, fetch land thinning. But if you can repetitively activate Evolving Wilds, okay, you are thinning your deck down quite a bit, you're getting all the basics out of there. And then the new Nissa, I like her a lot because she has Landfall, builds up her loyalty, her +1 untaps land, makes it so 3, I'm going to use it as ramp, but her -5 lets you cheat a creature from your hand to a graveyard onto the battlefield that's got CMC less than the number of lands you control, which in this deck, that's going to be a no-brainer. She builds up a lot of loyalty, she hangs around for a while because people aren't feeling threatened by her. Not much removal or board wipes hit planeswalkers at the same time, so she just kind of hangs around. Maybe your commander cops it, gets murked, goes to the graveyard, bring her back with Nissa. Removal, nothing special here, you've seen it before. Generous Gift, Assassin's Trophy, Anguish Unmaking, we can hit anything we need to right there. Path to Exile and Swords of Plowshare, just murk some single creature, probably the opponent's commander. And we run 2 board wipes through Dam and Wrath of God. Overloading Dam is pretty much another Wrath of God, but in black. Draw. God, Corrupting Conviction and Village Rites are so good in a deck like this, where you've got Ample creature's just a merc. Sack a creature, draw 2 cards, 1 black instant. Can't complain. Rites of Harmony, if you're about to do a ton of landfall triggers and generate a ton of tokens, cast it before, get to draw a ton of cards from them entering. And I love that it's got flashbacks. If we accidentally mill/dredge it away, we can cast it in the graveyard. Idle Oblivion, just a tap, draw a card if you create a tokens turn. With our commander, that might as well just say draw 2 cards a turn, really. Skull Clamp, just put up those little plant tokens and eat them up, draw 2 cards. That's a lot of dredging if you need right there. Moldavine Reclamation is really good in the long game. Like, I feel it's bad casting a 5 mana, but it does gain the value over the length of the game. Every time a creature we control dies, gain a life and draw a card. Those plant tokens are expendable as shit. Ramp, like, we're green, it's what we're going to do. Perilous Forays gets really good in the more expensive land base too. Sack a creature for 1 mana, search a library for a land card that has a basic land type. It doesn't have to be a basic land, so you can get your shock land, stuff like that. This land base in this deck is a bit more on the budget side, but if you upgrade the land base, really good. Cultivate, you know it, you've seen it before. Harrow, you have to sack a land to cast it as well, but really good if you've got lands that you want to get more effects from or more landfall triggers, because you can dredge them back to your hand. Rampant Growth just because it's quick and cheap. Good old Steve, you know why he's here. And Sylvan Scrying because it gets any land into your hand. And I do have Dark Depth in the spin stage in here because it's a really easy combo in a commander like this. Insidious Roots is really fun because it's your creature tokens tap for mana. Turning all your plants and zombies into birds of paradise is pretty strong. You may get some extra plant tokens out of it that get counters on them, maybe. In terms of artifact ramp, we do not run much at all. Arcane Signet and Soaring because of the default here. And I'm running Chromatic Lantern just because it's a more budget land base, so it could help fix it out a little bit. Onto the lands, this is where it matters. Dark Depth and Sesame Stage as mentioned before. Dark Depth enters a ton of counters on it. Get rid of the counters, you get yourself a big 20/20 flying indestructible. Thespian Stage enters, you can make a copy of another land you control through its ability. It becomes a copy of Dark Depth. It has no counters on it. But now Legend Rule triggers, sack the Dark Depth, has all the counters on it, and now your new Dark Depth transforms into Merilage. Good luck to your opponent. Westvale Abbey, just stack 5 creatures and transform into a big flying lifelink indestructible demon. Once it's out really early on, hopefully, it should gain you a ton of life and put the pressure on everyone. It's got to be answered with an exile. Yeah, I don't want my friends liking me too much, so I do have land destruction in the land slot because we can recur it through dredging. Having Strip Mine, Ghost Quarter, and Tectonic Edge being able to be replayed, recurred, we can start knocking people out of colours if they're a multicolor, or we just target their important lands, or all the lands in general. It's a little bit toxic, but it's a cheap strategy in this deck, and it will really help in a 1v1. Or, again, politics. The Abandoned Mire has Channel, which has a reduction based on the number of legendary creatures you control. It's really only a commander, so probably going to look at a cost of 3. But for 3 mana, ditch it, you get to take a creature, planeswalker from your graveyard back to your hand. It's just to recur something back we lost. The cycle lands are important because cycling draws cards, and draw cards can be replaced with dredge, and they're on a land, so it's even better. So we run 2 of each color that we possibly can. We run our really budget crack lands. Fabled Passage is nice and cheap. But Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse feel really good when you keep recurring them and get all your basics out of your library. Onto color, run our 3 check lands because they're really cheap, Command Tower and our Citadel, and we run 6 of each basic. And that is the Necrobloom. It's a very strong commander, can be built very cheap, very expensive. All are pretty good. It's a strong commander, it's doing a lot of things all the time, it's in great colors. If you're a player that wants to keep busy, it's probably the commander for you. You've got Landfall, you've got token generation, you're dredging so you feel like you're drawing a ton of cards and being interactive in the library and the graveyard at the same time. It's just a really good all-round commander. It has punched my teeth in a lot on MTG Arena. It's pretty good. Alright, I think that's it for this one. I'll put the deck list down below on Tapped Out, and have a good one. See you later, guys.